Hello everyone, I'm Wayne and welcome to Goals by the Numbers. If you're passionate about football and love diving into the stats behind every game in the Premier League, usually, you've come to the right place. We break down performances, sometimes analyse tactics, and give you a deep statistical look at the biggest matches from the previous week. Today we look at the draw between Bournemouth and Manchester United, Liverpool thumping Tottenham at home, and Newcastle sending Ipswich down to the Championship. So, our first match, Bournemouth 1, Manchester United 1. Another performance for Manchester United ends in a draw where one positive was Hojlund scored his first goal in 5 Premier League appearances. Before that, the previous gap had been 14 Premier League appearances. Luke Shaw had made his first appearance since February 2024. It's always good to see a player return from a spell injured. However, when trying to play the ball out from the back, Shaw, while being closed down by Antoine Semenyo, played a bit of a hospital pass to Dorgu. He was quickly dispossessed, and then Bournemouth got across into the box, which Evan Nielsen could not control, and while Luke Shaw was arguably ball watching, Semenyo was able to get the ball and rifle into the back of the net. At this point in the match, 22 minutes in, Manchester United had 2 shots compared to the 4 of Bournemouth. What happened next was that Manchester United went on to have 22 more shots before their 23rd was Hojlund's equaliser. Remember that, 23 shots, 1 goal. Manchester United had 25 shots in total, 6 being on target. One player in particular who looked to almost single-handedly take it upon himself to win the match and had 8 shots with only 1 on target was Alejandro Garnacho. There seems to be a bit of a pattern developing where Garnacho has matches where he just keeps shooting. Volumes of shots. On one hand, yeah, okay, you're an attacking player, I get it, so shooting is part of your repertoire. On the other hand, I think to myself, after 3 or 4 shots and no joy, would you now maybe just focus on trying to get a few other players an assist to kind of balance it out? Garnacho is 20 years old. He can always be coached into a more effective player. To be fair, any player at 20 years old can always be coached into being a more effective player. But more and more fans seem to be starting to dislike him. And even more, I think, are losing patience. So, some numbers. Bournemouth and Garnacho both had 8 shots and only 1 on target. Bournemouth made 17 crosses. Adam Smith made 2 passes into the penalty area, and Hojlund made 1 switch. So that's a pass that travels 40 yards the width of the pitch. Fernandez had 97 touches of the ball and made 19 long-range passes, 6 more than the goalkeeper, Andre Onana. He also made 12 shot-creating actions. Luke Shaw, on his first start since returning from injury, made 7 shot-creating actions and 8 crosses. Manuel Ugarte, which is quite interesting, he completed 32 out of 33 passes. So that in itself is not a huge amount, but he only played 26 minutes. He completed more passes than 6 players who play more minutes than he did. So on to our next match, Liverpool 5, Tottenham Hotspur 1. As a Manchester United fan, the best part of this match was the end, with the Liverpool fans had lit some flares, only to find that the colour that was coming out of those flares was blue. Everton fans, I salute you, thank you very much. Part of what makes football so enjoyable is the relationships between different sets of fans. And when it's in a good spirit, it can actually be quite funny. In this match, Tottenham actually took the lead after 10 minutes with a goal through Dominic Solanke. Liverpool equalised 5 minutes later, where Salah played the ball behind Tottenham's defence, which, if I'm honest, it looked more static than pieces on a chessboard. for Szoboszlai to then square the ball to Diaz to equalise. Tottenham then failed to clear the lines, and Alexis McAllister scored to put Liverpool in front. And at that point, it became one-way traffic. Salah scored, surprise, surprise, and as part of his celebration, he grabbed a phone from either a fan or a steward and took a selfie of him and the group of fans behind him celebrating. And when I saw that, all I could think of was, oh my God, imagine if he did that in a match against an actual rival. Interesting. So, apart from the blue flares, something else that was somewhat strange was Darwin Núñez trying to pour champagne over Salah. Now, making an assumption, and Salah representing Egypt as an international, I would have assumed that he wouldn't drink because of culture and or religion. I guess maybe Darwin Núñez knows something that I don't. Liverpool have played Tottenham 4 times this season and scored 15 goals against them. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. So, the numbers. Liverpool scored 5 goals from an XG of 2.2, showing how clinical they were. Liverpool had 61% possession and had 25 shots. Remember, it took Manchester United 23 to get 1 goal. Liverpool centre-backs Van Dijk and Konate had the most touches of the ball as Liverpool built up from the back. Salah and Szoboszlai made 9 shot-creating actions each. Tottenham, Maddison made 3 shot-creating actions. Solanke had 3 shots, 2 on target, and there was 1 own goal for Tottenham and 1 tail between their legs. Their match against Bodo Glimt in the Europa League, their manager needs to pull something out of the bag because I cannot remember the last time Tottenham were this bad. They shouldn't be this bad. Manchester United this season are terrible, but Tottenham shouldn't be worse. So, on to our last match, Newcastle 3, Ipswich 0. In a match that finally confirmed Ipswich's relegation to the Championship at 0-0 and 36 minutes in, about 36 minutes in, Ipswich had Ben Johnson sent off. That was Ipswich Town's 5th red card of the season. The screw continued to turn as Newcastle pushed to take the lead. Just before the end of the first half, they had a chance cleared off the line, and a couple of minutes later, a penalty. They had a penalty which they scored by Alexander Isak. He coolly dispatched the penalty. It didn't even look as if it was really in the corner, but the keeper seemed to just not be able to save it. In the second half, things didn't improve for Ipswich as Newcastle continued to ramp up the pressure. Newcastle had 24 shots on target in the entire match, 3 of which were actually on target, and in the second half, they had 15 shots without replying. Now I know Ipswich were a man down, but 15 shots without a reply, that's still a lot. Newcastle dominated this match, really dominated this match. Not only did they have 77% possession, but even their goalkeeper registered a shot-creating action. I reiterate, 1 shot-creating action for Nick Pope, as he was able to provide a goal-scoring chance to Anthony Gordon, whose shot was saved. This win took Newcastle up to 3rd in the league. And with 34 matches played, one of the remaining matches is against Chelsea, a direct rival for a Champions League spot. Now remember, it's the top 5 that go into the Champions League at the end of the season. Currently, Newcastle have 62 points, 5 behind Arsenal, and in 7th on 57 points, you have Aston Villa. So with the remaining 4 games, it'll be interesting to see which of the 4 teams manage to finish in the top 5. So the numbers. Ipswich had 4 shots, none on target. Ipswich made 51 clearances. 51 clearances when they averaged 29. When they have averaged over 29. They have averaged 29 over the course of the season. On a side note, Ipswich Town have made 995 clearances this season, but 2 other teams have actually made more. Newcastle had 10 players in this match take a shot. Bruno Gomes made 13 shot creating actions, and Sandro Tonali made 9, and Murphy and Trippier both made over 10 crosses, which is quite interesting as they both play on the same side of the pitch. So, on to our questions. Can Alejandro Garnacho become a more efficient player, or is he forever destined to be wasteful? Will Liverpool's attack carry them to the title next season? And our last question. Is Newcastle the most underrated team in the Premier League right now? So, this has been another episode of Goals by the Numbers. Comments below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.